All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And today we have a special MMA edition, aka I don't know shit about MMA. I'm going to go ahead and off rip introduce my guest, Mr. Lucas Oliveira. Welcome to the I don't know shit about MMA show. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, my friend. I don't know shit, so this is appropriate.
Perfect. Exactly. And if you recognize the last name Oliveira, that is because he is a blood brother to the champion Charles Du Bronx. Is this correct?
Well, we're actually technically wiener cousins, but we're related. That's all that matters. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Perfect.
It's not like Oliveira is like the fifth most popular last name in Brazil. That's not a fact. You
No,
know,
not at all. No,
not a
it's
fact.
yeah, it's like Johnson, you know?
If you look at that picture of him with on the motorcycle with the umbrella, like I'm the one that took that. You know what I mean? You
You
can
were
see my
the
reflection in the background.
you
Yeah,
were the one holding on to the back his back in
yeah.
the
I
motorcycle.
I handed him the umbrella. You know.
Exactly. So, we're here with the cousin of Charlie Olives and we're gonna get right into it today. We're talking, of course, about UFC 280. But first, for my listeners, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, or else we're gonna call up Charlie Olives and we're gonna send location. So, getting right into it, UFC 280. This is technically for a vacant title, but the champion has a name, and that's Charles Oliveira. What do you think about this whole event? We're going back to Abu Dhabi. Do you think that's on purpose? Do you think,
I'm
what are your thoughts?
I'm cool with it, to be honest with you. Like if it was me and I'm Charles, I want to fight over there anyway. I don't want to go to Brazil. It's more pressure. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like the Brazilians, they're ruthless, man. They're gonna have his back all day. It's gonna be insane over there. But like, God forbid things don't go your way and you're over there. It's not good, man. It's not a good look.
I
So
know
if it was
they're
me,
filthy animals, right?
yeah, apparently, ask Chael. But if you or ask Colby. But
Yeah,
if you ask me, I would rather go to Abu Dhabi. Boo me all day. I don't give a shit. The pressure's on Islam as far as being on the home turf. So you don't want to be Derek Lewis. You know what I mean? In Houston.
oh god, bro.
You know,
It's like the past, I think it was the past 3 times that he's fought in Texas in
who would
general.
want to do that? I'm good. I'm out of here. I'm going out of town. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, peace.
I don't think it's a big deal. And I watched the pre-fight press, and I mean, there's some support there for Charles too. Surprisingly, there's a good amount. It's obviously super heavy to Islam, but it's not like he's got nobody. And yeah, man. I mean, dude, the way Charles has, I mean, how do you get stripped for half a pound and then you still go in the fight and dominate? You know what I mean? Like that's some crazy shit. That's next level shit. That's more than just fighting. That's the mentality. That's the new Charles we're seeing. As he says, he's illuminated by God now. So the more challenges, he likes it. You know what I mean? So I don't think it hurts him at all.
Yeah, I think he is illuminated by God. You can see it in the hair. And the 0.5 pounds, we could do a whole podcast about that whole thing. Um, speaking of Abu Dhabi and all of this, it's a shame that this fight wasn't in Abu Dhabi because we saw when Habib fought, it was almost like, you saw the guy with the scale. He was kind of like this, and it was like, yeah, 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 155, it's good,
Yeah.
before actually really reading it. So there's a whole thing to be said about that, but we won't go too crazy. What we will do though is get right into the undercard, the prelims, all that good stuff. Bear with me just a second. Go ahead and share my screen, and then we can talk about UFC 280, Oliveira versus Makachev. And as far as this undercard goes, let's go back down to the bottom. We're starting with Carol Rosa versus Lena Landsberg, or is it Lina? Um, out of, I like that these start at 10 a.m. on the
I
East
love that.
Coast. Is there any of these fights here? Let's start with these three down here. Are there any fights that kind of stick out to you? Any
To be honest with
fighters?
you, man, like I am a prelim guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know shit about MMA, but I also don't have a life. So I on Saturdays will sit there at 6 o'clock and watch all these, spaced out early prelims. There's not a lot that stands out to me, to be honest with you, until we get a little bit later on. Volkan versus Nikita, that's pretty interesting. Light heavyweight, both the guys are coming off of big wins. I think Volkan has a win over Paul Craig. Nikita, who did he just fight? Who was it? Gustafson. So that's a pretty interesting fight. I'm kind of surprised that it's actually on the prelims. And then Bilal versus Sean Brady, that's on the prelims too, isn't it?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is.
it's Sean versus the other guy.
Yeah, I don't remember who is that guy. I forget.
I can never remember who this
I
guy
never
is now.
remember that guy's name.
Can't
Balil,
remember.
Balil,
Yeah,
Jalel.
something like that. Yeah. Something like that. But those are the main two that kind of stick out to me. But yeah, I definitely like the 10 o'clock as well, man. It's nice. Sometimes like we're on the East Coast, so it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Dude, I mean we were together for the Israel Cannoneer or whatever the last pay-per-view card was that we watched together, and I'm like falling asleep, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to be hyped
Yeah,
that late.
yeah.
So
No, it was that was the Nate Diaz versus
oh
Tony.
yes, that's right. Yeah.
I will say this guy is somebody to keep an eye on. He's like technically from England, but he had that back and forth on Twitter with Paddy Pimblett. I think he had his UFC debut in his last fight. Undefeated guy. He's definitely one to look out for. I forgot what card he fought on. Other
Sure he's
than
a
that,
favorite.
yeah, other than that, it's one of those things where I'm just looking forward to good fights. The Ozdemir, I don't think Ozdemir looked that good in his fight against Paul Craig. So, hopefully we see a good Volkan Ozdemir. I like this fight on the undercard though, or on the prelims, I should say. Sean Brady, undefeated, of course. We're seeing him against what was his name? Oh, here it is. Bilal Muhammad. Of course. I always forget it every single time. I mean, we'll see what happens.
We know how we feel about that.
Yeah. Get this
I'll
off me, telly, mate.
pretty much. Now, Bilal would obviously just beat the shit out of me, and I would, if I met him, I'm sure he's a very nice guy. But as far as how we know these fighters, through the media and through social media and through interviews and through their fights and their performances, he's just not my guy. I don't want to be that guy, but he's not my guy. And then, when, the win over Luke, I was butthurt about it. I'm still butthurt about it, and I just don't like his style overall. It's
I
just
mean,
not
it wasn't like Jeff Neal's
yeah,
win over Luke.
don't even go there. Don't even go there. Yeah, I was like butthurt for like I'm still butthurt. Yeah, so let's not even go there. But now Bilal, man, yeah, I was literally screaming at my television for the Luke fight, and I don't know, man. He just doesn't have a great style. Doesn't have the charisma or the character, the personality. The Leon Edwards fight. It's just one thing after another. So we'll see. I think it's cool that he's getting the support on that side over there. So that's cool. We'll see, but I'm going for Sean Brady. It's not based on anything to do with sports, though. So,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah, it is what it is. I feel like as much as they try to make Bilal into like a character in the UFC, whether that's the extreme of Colby or just a name, it's people forget his name. It is what
yeah,
it is. I'm not even trying to
yeah.
make a joke at this point, but people just as
Well,
much as you try
and
to
to be
get people to
honest,
remember, people are forgetting.
we're not alone. I will tell you, if you want to have a good time, go look at a post on the UFC's account of Bilal and read the comments. We're not alone. I'm sorry. It seems to be the consensus. I just go in there for like 30 minutes, start reading, and people are hilarious. But
Yeah,
it seems
the
to be the
comments are
thing.
funny, man.
They are. So he seems to have mostly support from like, his region, his people. That's kind of what I've been seeing more. But yeah, I'm not on the Bilal bandwagon just yet.
Me either. Trust me. So we go into the main card. We're starting off the card with Caitlin Kuchagian. Check out her Twitter, and then Manon Fiora. I don't really know. Do you know anything about this chick?
I don't, man. I think she's only had one fight in the UFC. She's had a couple of fights get canceled recently. I think she was supposed to fight on Andrade. Let me see. Let's pull her up real quick. Let's pull up her shit and have a look at her. Let me see
Yeah.
here. Yeah, so she's scheduled with Chikagian now. Andrade was canceled. Yes, she was fighting Jennifer Maia earlier this year, back in March. She had a cancellation with Jessica I. So yeah, man, I don't. That's all I'm seeing on here. She got 2021. She has a dub over Myra Bueno Silva. She has another canceled fight, and she has a dub over Tabitha Ricci, and she has a dub over Victoria Leonardo. So correct me. Yeah, she's actually had a few fights in the UFC. One, two, three, four wins. So she's looking good. Obviously, we know Chikagian. She's a staple at women's flyweight.
Yeah, she's like the
So
gatekeeper at this point.
she's the gatekeeper that's ranked number one.
Yeah, it's like you can't get her out of that spot, you know?
Yeah, for
She's
sure,
never
for
gonna beat
sure.
Valentina, but
No,
you just have to
no.
beat her to get a shot at Valentina, essentially.
Pretty much. So yeah, I don't know a lot about this one. I think whatever the lady.
Do you think
I don't
that
want
so my I guess my question would be if Manning gets a victory, do you think that instantly shoots her up to title contention, or do you think that the next fight we'll see for Valentina is going to be the rematch with Talia Al
to.
Ghul?
Well, I guess it just depends where the women are at. You know what I mean? Like the rematch would definitely make sense. I wouldn't be mad about that at all. I mean, realistically, man. I mean, I love Valentina. She's one of my favorite across the whole roster, pound for pound. Like, I'm a big fan. But I did score it, 3-2 the other way. So that fight makes sense to run back. But at the same time, she doesn't have a lot of contenders. So, I think it's largely going to depend on the performance that we see here. If it's just some pit pat bullshit and we're winning on points, then maybe not, But if she goes out there and dominates or gets a finish, then obviously I think she'll jump up and get the title fight.
Exactly. And especially on a card that's so stacked, it's like you really have to show out. If you go out there and have a forgetful um fight, then it's going to be one of those things where very many people are going to be calling for that fight. But if you go out there and steal the show, then that's a good way to start the card. So moving on to the next fight, we got Benil Dariush, somebody who was supposed to fight Islam, and now we're seeing him against Gamrot. What do you think about this fight? Are you going Benil?
I don't know, man. I will say this though. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to Gamrot, and then his last fight with Arman Sarukian, that was a badass fight. That was a badass fight. When I watched that, I just thought to myself, "Holy shit! Like, these guys are the future." Like, no offense, but like Gaethje, Poirier, like that's the old style. You know what I mean? Like that's the
Mhm.
old top five. You know what I mean? And those guys, they're legends. They're awesome. I respect those guys. But I feel like Gamrot and Armin, like they showed a whole other level to lightweight, and I was like really, really, really impressed. So I'm really excited for this fight, actually. Benil's tough though, man. Benil's a tough guy. He's been in the game for a long time. He's well rounded, so I'm excited for this fight. If I had to put money on it, I'd probably lean towards the favorite with Gamrot. I think he was a champion in a previous organization that he was in as well, so the guy's got a lot of experience. So if I'm betting, I'm going to go Gamrot, but Benil pulling off the dub. I mean, you can never count the guy out, so I wouldn't be surprised if he wins either.
How old is Benil?
I don't know, man. What do you think? Probably mid 30s, if I had to guess.
I would say so. I mean, he's got
33.
that. Is he 33?
33, and Gamrot's
Damn.
31. So and
Oh,
they
so
look.
they're right there next to each other. Yeah, I guess because he's got a little bit of gray in his hair, he looks a little bit older, but
And he's been in the UFC for a little bit now,
he
so
has been in for a while. But it's one of those things where now Benil, like I'm finally forgetting, even though it was like 8 years ago, I'm finally forgetting about that knee knockout by Barbosa
yeah, yeah.
because it was just so like brutal that after that I was like, I don't know, man, I can't get that knockout out of my head. But sometimes it's
I,
time to forget.
I think he's had a couple other. I don't think that was the only finish that he's had either. I think he may have had one more that's in there somewhere. Yeah, that's right. Alexander Hernandez knocked him out as well
Oh, that's not
when
the
he was
best
when he was on the rise. When the hype was looking real.
for Alex Hernandez.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
2018.
But I mean,
Michael
since
Chiesa sub
then,
in 2016. Yeah, this is ancient history at this point. I mean, you could go back and look at Charles' record and do the same shit. So, you really got to look at what they've been doing lately. And yeah,
exactly.
he's got Jakar Close dub. He got the Tony dub. The Diego Ferreira fight was pretty good one. So
Jafar,
yeah,
I
now
can't let you get close.
yeah. So yeah, now we got the Gamrot. So we'll see. I'm actually really excited for this fight. I don't know if I feel like obviously the main attention is getting most of the attention, but this one is high up there for me for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely a good fight to put in the card and definitely strengthens it. But even without these fights, like you can literally go from here down and take all of them away and literally just have a 3 fight pay per view. And I don't know about you, but I think I would still buy it.
I still would for sure.
Yeah, because especially the first one starting off, we have essentially a number one contender spot at bantamweight with the number one contender Piotr Jan versus Sean O'Malley. Man, I feel like Sean O'Malley, the biggest criticism of him, besides the fact people say that he's like fake undefeated, he's delusional about that, whatever. His biggest criticism is that he's almost gone kind of like the boxing route in the sense of he's not fighting top guys. He's fighting more dudes that are there to be beaten. He's looking super impressive against them. Um, but he's had that criticism. I don't think it's unfair, but now that criticism has to go out the window, win or lose, by jumping all the way up and fighting the number one contender. Some could argue would still be champion in Piotr Jan. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Sean's doing it the smart way, man, and I think Patty's kind of doing that now. We've seen that happen in the past where a new prospect comes in and they get moved up too quickly and then,
Mhm.
they burn, and a lot of these guys, they take a really bad L. It's hard to come back from that. You know what I mean? So,
It just
uh,
completely derails their career in some aspects. I think a good example would be what was his name? Super Sage.
yes, I was thinking the same guy,
Super
same guy.
Sage, bro,
Yes,
dude.
exactly. That's
What a
who comes to
shame.
mind. I mean, even Paige, back in the day, you could argue that, she had good first, 2, 3 fights and then kind of got moved up maybe a little bit before she was ready.
But if that
And
never happened, would we have gotten her OnlyFans?
yeah, I know, right? So it might have been, well, she made more
All
money
things
doing that
happen
shit
for a
than
reason,
fighting
you know?
anyway. Yeah. So
Yeah,
she's making more a month there probably than she ever did in all of her UFC fights combined. Like
I
she's
bet.
getting stupid paid. But yeah, no, I think O'Malley did it right, and I think he's doing the right thing by okay, now it's been a few years of me getting the experience under my belt, building the hype, getting the reputation, getting the name, getting comfortable, and then and he had a couple of good ones in there too. I mean, Thomas Almeida was obviously more on the decline, but I mean, he's a hard fight for sure. And then he tried, Vera, which obviously didn't go his way, but he took that. Paiva's a pretty solid fighter too. Took that fight. So he's doing it the right way. I wasn't overly impressed with the Pedro Munoz fight. Like I know he's like trying to use that as like, oh, I was so badass in that. You saw he didn't even touch me. I
He's trying to
wasn't.
basically consider it as a win, even though it wasn't a win. Yeah, for that fight, I didn't think there was much going on. I agree with Sean in the sense that Pedro really couldn't touch him besides throwing leg kicks,
Mhm.
and then Sean checked half of them. So in a way, you should say that should count for me more than him because it hurts him.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where we just didn't see enough to get an accurate read. I don't feel.
I don't think so either, and I hate to say it because I like Pedro and I respect him and I respect the fighters and Brazil love and all that. But I did kind of want him to continue, you know what I mean? I was like, come on, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? So, we're used to seeing guys just get the shit beat out of them and they're just like, nah, I'm gonna keep going. I felt like he maybe had some more in there, but taking no contest is better than taking the L. So I don't know, obviously, and I don't want to disrespect the guy, but as a spectator, I wanted to see more, and like you said, we didn't really get to see Sean. Him against Piotr or Peter, man, it's really interesting, to say the least. If I, you know, 5 rounds, you got to go with Jan all day. 3 rounds, I think that gives Sean a lot better of a chance. Jan is traditionally a slow start. I think pretty much both his fights with Sterling, he pretty much, is just reading both the both first rounds out
And that's
and kind of
really what
feeling them out.
lost him the title was the fact that he didn't really throw much in that first round, even though he was pressuring.
Exactly.
They gave the round to Sterling because he was actually throwing kicks and throwing some shots and whatnot. Peter Yan, all he had to do was throw maybe one or two more 1, 2, 3s, and he would have actually won that whole fight
Yep. Yep. And I'm sure he's learned that too. I'm sure he's learned that, hey, this shit is costing me fights. I can't do that
and
anymore.
costing me
And
a
now,
championship,
yeah, yeah.
championship belt, championship pay,
And
all
now
that.
he's got 3 rounds to work. So he knows,
Mhm.
okay, I can go 5 any day of the week all day. I can really put it on this kid for 3. So in the toughness department, I think Jan's gonna outgrid him. You know what I mean? Like he's got the toughness, I think more so.
100%.
You know, like, I mean, look at the guy. I mean, he's just an animal. You know what I mean? But man, I don't know. I really can't count out O'Malley. If I'm betting money, shit, man, I want to bet. I would probably bet Jan and make the safe bet, but I feel like O'Malley's going to get an upset, man. I'm just not going to be surprised. I really think he could pull it off. I
That would be
really, really do.
nuts, dude.
I think he has a really good chance, man. I don't think it's as far apart as people think. It's a good matchup for him too. You know, if he's moving up to the top, contenders. I mean, if he's getting a Sterling that's just going to take him down and take his back, that's going to be a little bit harder. But Jan, realistically, I mean, Jan has the grappling there for sure. But I mean, I think Jan's going to stand with him. You know what I mean? For the most part, you know what I mean. So yeah, I think Sean has a very, very good chance. So if we see an upset, I would not be surprised at all, which would honestly be pretty badass. Imagine if
That
he
would be
wins and
pretty
then he's
sick.
number one and he's, fighting for the belt. I mean, the
Sean
kid could do it.
O'Malley is the number one contender. That'd be crazy.
Sean
But I
O'Malley is
agree
the
with you.
freaking champ.
I think that this is going to be a kickboxing fight for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just going to come down to who's more technical. I think Sean O'Malley is very technical, but I think Peter Yan is just very good at being able to make reads, make adjustments and whatnot. But do you have the time in the 3-minute rounds to make those adjustments? I think is the real question. So this has a lot of questions to it, a lot of intrigue, and I am intrigued. My last question for this particular fight is: if Sean O'Malley were to win, does that give him an instant title shot, or would you say a title shot eliminator fight rematch with Cheeto?
I mean, that's super interesting. That's super, super interesting. Um, Man, I mean, honestly, it could go either way because sometimes it comes down to who's available, who's injured, what's the schedule looking like, what other matchups are there. So there's a lot of other factors in it. If I'm the UFC, I feel like Sean is just the money fight. It's not really about rankings or what makes sense. It's about what's going to sell. And I feel
Yeah.
like the kid can sell. So giving him the shot makes sense, and then letting him have. Imagine he wins the belt, and then Marlon challenges him for it. Like it's almost more drama that way, versus an
Yeah.
elimination, right?
That is.
So
Yeah.
it almost makes more sense. I'd be happy either way. I think it just comes down to scheduling, injuries, who agrees to what contract, and all that. But honestly, O'Malley is potentially a future superstar. Well, he already is in his own right, but a mega star in the making. You know what I mean? Like that Connor level, he has that charisma. He puts on exciting fights. He has exciting knockouts. It's just, can he do it at this level? You know what I mean? So we'll see, man. We'll see. But the bullshit of, just kick his legs, I think that's bullshit. I don't think it's that simple. That's just stupid.
It never is that simple, right?
It's not that
Well,
simple.
speaking of bantamweight title shots, I love the fact that we're going to see the title contended for with Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. Man, I can't believe that we're seeing TJ Dillashaw in another title fight. I have it labeled here as Sterling versus the CEO of EPO. I know that technically, I guess the title of CEO is supposed to go to Kamaru Usman, right, Marty? But
Marty, yeah.
when on who's more proven to be the CEO of EPO, I think Dillashaw takes the cake.
Bill Shaw's clean now, bro. He's the
Yeah,
most tested athlete in USADA.
he's been drinking his clean juice, right?
He's taking a juice. Yeah, and just for the record, when people say, "Oh, they're USADA tested," that means fuck all. Okay, just understand that means fuck all. Okay, they have a list of shit that you can't take. You can just change the molecules, change it a little bit, and just stay ahead of the fucking curve. They don't have a fucking test yet for a substance that doesn't exist. So I'll tell you right now, I would be willing to bet more than half, probably way more than that. These motherfuckers are taking something of another. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of who's smart, who's cycling correctly, right? So TJ fucked up and got popped, but is he the worst guy in the world? Fucking Sterling probably juicing right now, talking all that shit. So I don't want to fucking hear it. It really doesn't bother me that much as far as that goes. The timeout though, I think was a lot. You know what I mean? 2 years is a long time to get out of the game. I'm glad he did his shoulder surgeries. The Sandhagen fight was a badass fight. It was a great fight, but wasn't an overly convincing fight for me. You know what I mean? And Sandhagen's a very, very, good fighter, well-rounded fighter. But it wasn't like he blew him out of the water, and I'm 100% sure Dillashaw is going to win. Sterling, the first fight with Jan, obviously started off really strong and then, started to go downhill. We all saw the direction the fight was going, took the knee. So I was kind of like, meh. But Sterling's
And then he
second
took
fight,
the Oscar.
he did very good. I honestly did not think Sterling was going to win in the second fight. I really did not. He did much better than I thought. He made the adjustments, and he's got my respect. So, man, and it's funny. The press are there booing him and shit. I think it's hilarious. But this is another tough one, man. I really, really don't know. It's tough. I mean, shit, man. I'd probably go all Joe, man. I'm gonna go with all Joe.
Yeah, I think Dillashaw. I mean, it's hard because he had that 2-year layoff, and then he goes in and fights Sandhagen, who's one of the top guys. Regardless of the recent losses and whatnot, he's lost to the champ and former champ. But Dillashaw, he went in there, he got his knee popped early, which obviously you have to say like, oh well, Sandhagen did that. Had that not happened, I think it would have been a much closer fight. And then maybe even with, remember, his eye was completely split open, and that was an injury that he had in camp that delayed that initial date that he had. So without those two, I guess, injuries, I think that fight would have been a lot closer. And the fact that he was coming off of 2 years, I think says a lot. But now that fight is what? July, August, September, October. So we're looking at 15 months ago was the last time TJ fought after coming off of 2 years. A lot of inactivity in the past 3 years. I don't know if that's going to hurt him. He's not getting any younger. And
Yeah.
now he's not on EPO anymore.
Well, allegedly, he's on something else.
We'll see, right? Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, man. I feel like if we're looking at skills for skills, I think TJ beats him in the stand-up department, and I think in the grappling department, TJ should be able to hang with him. I think Aljamain's going to get the nod there, but I think
It's
TJ's
D1 versus D3, bro. Aljo is D3, TJ's D1. That's what he's been saying the whole time. He's like, I'm gonna show him what D1's all about, baby. And facts, that is quite a big gap. But it's been a long time, and
But wasn't
just
Marty D2?
yeah, exactly. And
So what does that
again,
mean? Fuck all?
well, you can be a black belt jiu-jitsu, but if you don't know how to incorporate it into mixed martial art, it means fuck all. So it's the same
Yeah.
thing with wrestling and with boxing and kickboxing. Any of these things, it's called mixed martial arts. You got to know how to incorporate them together and use them together. It's not just a pure wrestling match, right? So yeah, man, we'll see. It's a super interesting one. It's really, really close one too. Matchmakers did a good job, man, because it's freaking hard. You know what I mean? It's really hard to make predictions on this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm with you, man. I'm just going to see what happens. I'm looking forward to the fight, though. Something that I want to share when it comes to going into the main event is, let's see, just a moment. I want to share something that Charles said recently. All right. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
A luta aconteceu porque o Khabib fez acontecer. Não porque o Isla mereceu. Porque o Isla, pra mim, tinha que lutar contra o top 5. Qual foi o ranqueado que o Isla pegou? Nenhum. Então, assim, eu acho que se você pegar minhas 11 vitórias, foi de 11 caras de nome, 11 caras completos. Todos os top 5 praticamente eu já lutei. Todos os grandes nomes eu já lutei. Se eles eram da parte em pé, eu troquei porrada de igual para igual com os caras, ou eu nocauteei, eu finalizei. As minhas 11 vitórias, só tem uma que foi pela decisão, e foi a luta do Tony, todo mundo viu o que eu fiz com o Tony, tirei o Tony para nada. Todo respeito do mundo, Charles Oliveira, Charles do Bronco, ele tá um passo à frente, é o time.
Now, when it comes to what Charles just said, is he spitting facts?
I mean, yes and no, right? So I do think it's correct. If you put his wins next to Islam's, they're just not the same. But Islam's cat actually made a good point. I'm just trying to be unbiased here. Obviously, I'm a big Charles fan, but I got to
Obviously,
give
you're his
credit where it's
cousin,
due.
but
Of course. But to be fair, I mean, they said a good point. When Habib was on his rise, they said the same thing about Habib. They said, who has he fought? Who has he fought? He fought a real estate agent, and they were talking all that. They were talking all that shit. And then obviously he's the fucking Eagle, right? So he deserved it in the end. Like he really is on that level. So ideally, should he fight a top 5 guy first? Yeah, for sure. But I totally could see that being the situation because who the fuck wants to fight this guy? Everyone's like, oh, I want to save my ranking. I want to save my ranking, So the Beneil fight made sense. That would have made more sense to have that fight first. But shit happens. I don't think look where we are, dude. We're 2 random guys talking about the internet. Obviously did something fucking right. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like it's a bad fight to make, So what Charles says is correct, but also what Habib's camp said is correct. So fuck it. We are where we are,
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where we could sit here and be like, "Oh, he doesn't deserve the title shot," but the only way we're gonna find out is on Saturday.
I think he
Like,
deserves it, dude. You're gonna
we're
see.
gonna see
Like,
it.
it's not gonna be Charles. I mean, maybe. Fuck, I don't know, but it's gonna be a fight, man. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a fight. Islam is a fucking legitimate fighter. He's a legitimate threat, and you can't say that he's fucking not. And he's gonna give anybody in a top five a fucking run for their money, man. You know, so he's meant to be there. You know, I will say on a side note about Habib. You know, Habib was my boy when he was in the UFC. I really liked Habib a lot, respected him a lot, super humble guy. Man, since he retired, he's talking so much shit, man. He's really gone full promoter on us here. You know what I mean? So I haven't liked that as much, but I can't take that shit talking that he's doing against Islam. You know, you look at Islam, he doesn't really talk a lot of shit. He's just doing his thing. So yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a good fucking fight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's one of those things where when somebody has the criticism of, oh, Islam didn't really fight anybody to get his way here, I think it's hard to argue against it, but does that mean that he doesn't deserve to be in this position? Does he not have the skills to be in this position? It's hard to argue that as well. So it's a weird, like, two sides of the coin thing where, I kind of agree with Charles. Like, the only reason why he is here is because of, his relationship with Habib. Like, if that wasn't there, would he be getting the shot? Probably not. Everybody
Yeah.
just sees him as, the next coming
It definitely built his
of
clout up
Habib.
for sure. That definitely didn't hurt. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like some of these guys, like I mean, it's not like an O'Malley type thing. You know, O'Malley's competition hasn't been to that level, but I mean, he's got Bobby Green, he's got Dan Hooker, Thiago Moises, Drew Dober. Yeah, Dan Hooker, Dan Hooker. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. He beat Armin. Obviously, it was years ago. Armin is still young, and I was young back then. But
Mhm.
still, I mean, it's not like you know what I mean. Almost everyone he's fought, he beat Gleison Tebow. You know, I mean, these guys have names. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he's fought random guys. The first time you hear about him is when they fight Islam. You know what I'm saying? Like we know these guys. They're not. You sure they're not ranked,
They
but they're
do
good
have
fucking
names,
guys.
but also the champion has a name.
Yeah, and also I remember
Yeah.
it.
I remember his name exactly. So it's one of those things, man. Yeah, like I'm a little on both sides of that argument, but at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters because we're going to see the fight, and Islam's going to show us on Saturday whether or not he actually, deserves to be in that position. But another thing that I want to bring up that comes to this fight when we talk about, deserving it, his relationship with Habib, people say that this fight reminds them a lot of a fight that never happened. Of course, I'm talking about Tony versus Khabib. And my question is Oliveira versus Islam the better version of Tony versus Khabib? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's the better version. You know, it definitely is the better. I think Habib and Islam are going to be pretty close as far as their levels go. But I think Charles is, obviously he fought Tony and
You heard what he
dominated him.
just said. He said, he goes, out of all my, what is it, 12 wins? He said, I've had 11 knockouts, 11 finishes. One of them was by decision, and that was Tony. And we saw what happened there. I reduced him to 0.
Yeah, and that arm was just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, if we look now, it just depends when Tony and Habib would have fought. If it was maybe one of the first two bookings, it probably would have been a more compelling match. But it had it been the fifth one, Habib would have mauled him. We can already see that now
Yeah.
after
The
what
one
we've
that
been
got,
seeing.
like, which cancellation event would it have been? Would it have been that
Exactly.
UFC Tampa? Was it going to be
Hey, I got that
the
shirt.
Yeah, exactly. The one that never happened. Would it have I think the best version probably would have been when they were gonna fight for the interim title. Either that
Yeah,
or the title fight where Habib with the tiramisu or Tony with the tripping over the cable. One of those two fights I think would have been legit, but the one that got canceled by COVID, I think it was one of those things where
it's too late.
it was a little too late. Exactly. I don't know if there was just a gap in training when Tony went through whatever mental health situation he went through, but after that, it didn't seem like, I mean, he's on a 5-fight losing streak. So,
Rip. That's
it
my
just
boy.
shows. But like you said, I think the real question is, we see that, yeah, exactly. Pour one out. We see that, if we're asking the question, is Charles the better Tony than Tony was, the answer is an obvious yes. Right?
Yes, I think so.
There's not going to be much disagreement with that, or much of a legitimate argument to that. But to answer this question below, the sub question would be: is Islam a better Khabib than Khabib? And I don't know that we've seen enough as evidence for that. What do you think?
No, I don't think we have yet. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Notice how I didn't say he isn't or is. I just said I don't think we've seen enough evidence for it.
Yeah, no, I don't think we've seen enough evidence yet either. And that's why this fight is so interesting. You know what I mean? To see what happens exactly. You know what I mean? So we can prove that. I mean, just offhand, I think I gotta imagine the wrestling is very close. You know what I mean? I gotta imagine the wrestling is very, very close. If Habib's at a 10, he's at like a 9.7, 9.8. You know, maybe even he's at a 10. I don't know, but they're very close to one another. It's just gonna be a matter of the striking. I want to say that I feel like Islam striking might even be better than Habib's. You know, but he's not going to play that game. You know, he's already got a KO loss from the one time he did try to play that shit. You know, so he's not going to play that. You know, but I don't know, man. It's really tough. And then how would Habib versus Charlie do? You know what I mean? Like Habib, you know, retired and left early. So, you know, we just have a lot of unanswered questions. But yeah, this is a better version of that fight. I don't think it's BJJ versus Sambo though. I'm kind of tired of hearing this shit. I don't agree with that. This is a mixed martial art bout. Both guys have their kind of specialties, but this is not. If that's that, let's go to ADCC. You guys can then grapple, and then we can see jiu-jitsu versus Sambo. Let's go ahead and get that done. This is mixed martial arts. So, you know, I'm tired of hearing that shit, basically. Unless Charles wins, then it is.
Exactly, right? then jiu-jitsu comes on top. Exactly.
Then I'm gonna have a shirt and it says if jiu-jitsu is easy, it'd be called Sambo.
I
ain't mad.
Exactly, right? And then on the back it says send location.
Yeah.
But that being said, official prediction time. You know, I think what it comes down to is obviously on the feet. I feel that Charles has the advantage. I don't feel that Islam is going to want the fight to be on the feet, which is very odd because no other opponent wants the fight to be on the ground with Charles Oliveira. The other thing is too, man, I can't really recall. You might know more than me because I don't know shit about MMA. I can't really recall where Islam has played, you know, significant grappling defense in his career.
Yeah.
Do you think that'll be a factor? You know, maybe he's super dominant on the stand-up, but then you see somebody, and I know it's not the same guy or the same very style of grappling, but you saw a guy in Ben Askren, who is a very dominant offensive wrestler. And then when it came to playing the defense against a jiu-jitsu black belt, one of the best grapplers of all time in the UFC, he was submitted quite quickly. Do you think we'll see something like that?
No, I don't. I think Islam is well-rounded on top and bottom. Obviously, you know, his style, he's going to want to be on top, especially in MMA. You definitely want to be on top. But we've seen Habib get taken down and have the ability to get back up. We've seen Habib do triangles off of his back. I mean, we've seen Habib be able to fight off his back. And like I said, I think their grappling is very close. So these guys aren't dumb. You know what I mean? They're not going to be so one-dimensional to where they're just on top, then they get swept, and they're like a fish on their back. You know what I mean? Like they're world-class grapplers. It's going to be on top or bottom. Obviously, they want to be on top. In MMA, in general, you should. You don't want to be playing guard in MMA. It's not a great idea. You need to have a guard, and it's good if you have an offensive guard. But I don't think he has a hole there at all. I really don't. It's going to be Charles is going to look for the back, of course. You know, that's going to be the path of least resistance to get a sub on him. The other thing Charles does really, really well is he'll hurt you on the feet. And then when you like duck your head down when you're going down, he'll snatch up an anaconda or a darce or something like that, you know? So he's a very in the moment kind of guy, an opportunistic guy. So again, that's why it's mixed martial arts.
He's very aware of positioning.
Exactly. And Charles, if you just put Charles in a pure jiu-jitsu setting, you know, I'm sure he would do very, very well, but will he be world level? I don't know. But his jiu-jitsu for MMA is world level. And that's what this sport exactly is.
And so far he's shown to be the best. And the only way you could really, you know, you could analyze that is the record. You know what I mean? He's got the record for most submissions and it's not even close.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's like the sickest record to have. I mean, come on.
It's nuts.
You know?
And he just keeps beating it every single time.
I know.
Dude is wild.
But I don't see any holes in Islam as far as the grappling goes. It's going to be a matter of does he get hurt and make a mistake, or does he, give his back, or is Charles able to take his back? But I don't see him taking Charles down, being in Charles' guard. Charles throws up an armbar and subs him, or throws up a triangle and
Yeah,
subs him. I don't see
I
that.
don't see any submissions coming from the guard.
Yeah,
I would say if a submission is going to come, it's going to be from the back or maybe a guillotine.
yeah,
If,
very good chance for a
If
guillotine
Islam
too.
just really keeps trying to chain wrestling and keeps his head in a less than favorable position, because we saw, I mean, it's funny how we're talking about Islam, but we keep bringing up Khabib's fights because it's almost like they're like one and the same. And I guess it's fair because it's the most close style to Islam is going to be Habib. Man, if Charlie was the one who snatched up that guillotine on Khabib and not
Oh, game
Dustin,
over. Game over.
I think it's game over. Dustin was half a butterfly hook away from being the champion of the world. All
Yeah,
he had to do was get that out and have full guard, and I think he would be champion
yeah.
when he had that guillotine. And had that been Charlie Olives with that choke, I think everyone would agree. We
100%, 100%. But they keep saying, I don't think, and I love this because I believe them. Neither guy is going to change their style for this fight. They're both
Mhm.
going to do their game plan. So Islam is going to come out there and shoot a fucking takedown. That's what he's going to do. He's not going to do this shit and feel around, throw a leg kick and move. No, fucker's coming in and shooting. That's what he's doing, you know? And Charles doesn't give a shit, and he's going to walk forward and he's going to try and knock your ass out. And I was thinking about that, and I said, "What does that mean?" That's almost like a Masvidal Askren 2 waiting to happen. You know what I'm saying? I would not be surprised because that this guy Islam's going to shoot immediately. You know what I mean? And Charles is
He just
brutal with a
throws a
knee.
flying knee.
I don't know if I was going to be flying knee, but you know what I'm saying.
He
I
just
could see that.
boom up
I
the
could
middle.
see that happening too, man. Just knowing that they both have openly said what they're going to do, I fully believe them. I mean, why would they not? It doesn't make sense. What is Islam going to do? Now he's a kickboxer? Like, no, he's going to go out there and try and do his shit. You know what I'm saying? So I could see him getting caught on an entry as well. Maybe not a sub, but I could see him getting caught, easily with a knee, uppercut, you name it. Something's coming at him up the middle. So there's a lot of ways to get it done. Obviously, I'm all in on olives. I would be shocked if this went to 5 rounds in a decision. That would be quite surprising. If it does, I mean, I'll probably be really happy because we'll get 25 minutes of just amazing fighting. You know what I mean? Really looking forward to it. I think the grappling exchanges are going to be really, really cool. Lots of scrambles, lots of movement. So we shall see, my friend.
Absolutely. And one more thing to bring up: every opponent that's fought Charles has tried to say, that guy's still in there. He's still gonna quit. He's a quitter at heart, and I think he's proven it time and time again that that's not the same guy. I think if anybody has a style to make people quit, it is Islam. But do you think that that guy still lives in there at all, or this is just the new and improved Charlie Olives 2.0, blonde Charles Oliveira, illuminated by God? He's the champ. Do you think that there's not a chance?
Anybody saying that, I would say, go to your local gym, MMA, and go spar some motherfuckers and tell me how long you want to fucking quit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit is gnarly, bro. These guys beat the fuck up out of each other. You know what I mean? And sometimes you just get your ass beat, and it is what it is, and you got to get out, and that's fine. But Charles is a different man now. You know what I mean? His belief is really insane. His belief is very high. But like, why would it not be? I mean, you know what I'm saying? The results that he's been getting lately and where he came from, why would it not be? He has every right to believe what he believes. But yeah, he
I can't even
wholeheartedly.
believe it.
He believes more than me.
Bro, if you would have told me after he beat Kevin Lee that he's gonna dominate Tony on the ground, he's going to knock out Michael Chandler, he's gonna submit Dustin Poirier, and then completely shut him down on the ground. Like Dustin's gonna hold a body triangle from the bottom,
And he's gonna
and
submit Gaethje.
then he's gonna essentially knock out Gaethje in the first round and then submit him on the
Yeah,
ground. I would
yeah.
be like, nah, no way. This guy, Charlie
So of course he
Olives,
looks in the mirror and goes, "Fuck," you know what I mean? I'm the man. You know what I mean? So he believes it, man.
if
And
somebody
honestly,
goes, "You're not that guy, pal," Charlie says, "Yeah, I'm that guy."
I'm that fucking guy. So Yeah, man, that shit, that's all stupid shit. That's all done. You know what I mean? So, and even before, go get your ass in a ring and see how fucking you do talking that shit online. Oh, he quits. He quits. Go fucking fight. Don't even do a professional fight. Go spar. Have fun. Enjoy a leg kick. See how that is.
Exactly. You know what? I think the best way to put it, closing this out, is when it comes to, and it goes back to that question of, does Islam even deserve this title shot? Not that he doesn't deserve it, but I think out of the two, who's proven to be that guy is Charlie Olives,
All
time and
day.
time again, time
All
and
day.
time again. And
And not
now
only
we're
it's the
going to see,
fights,
is Islam that guy?
not only the fights, but the moments that everything's been in. You know, getting hurt in the fight and coming back at multiple occasions, getting the belt taken, bro. I would be destroyed if that was me and I'm weighing in and they're getting me on a half a pound, stripping me, dude. I couldn't even walk in the damn arena, much less go in there and beat the shit out of the guy. The guy is special, man. You know what I mean? It's not just the fight; it's the shit surrounding it. You know what I'm saying? So now it's the same thing again. There's more shit surrounding this fight, and I think he's gonna come out of dead and just, yeah, fucking big fuck you to everybody.
Absolutely, man. Well, that being said, I guess we'll see what happens, bro. We have a great night of fights. I love cards like this,
Great day
especially
of
towards
fights.
great day of fights. Exactly, bro. It's gonna be in the middle of the day. I'm gonna be over poolside in Anna Maria Island. I don't know what I think I'm just gonna bring a TV and set it up and see if it'll connect to the Wi-Fi. But there's no future where I'm not glued in front of the television watching this from start to finish. Honestly,
Yeah.
I can't wait for it. That being said, any closing remarks, final remarks for everybody?
Hey, champion has a name. His name's Charles Oliveira.
It's Charles Oliveira, ladies and gentlemen.
Shahis.
You heard it from Charles Oliveira's cousin himself, Lucas Oliveira. Lucas, thank you. Muito obrigado.
Later.
Until next time.
One love.
Peace.
One love.